Welcome to Miles Menus and Mystery. Today, those miles lead us directly into the silver screen and onto the very roads where many sightings of the Fouke Monster have occurred. Join us for a conversation with author, musician, and monster hunter Lyle Blackburn as he documents a personal sighting from the night before our arrival. After parting ways with Count Lyle, we explore Mr. Denny's Monster Mart, the legendary Boggy Creek, and a Texarkana restaurant that fellow enthusiasts might want to check out, Angela's Roux Ga Roux Cafe.
Of all strange circumstances, I'm from Texas and born and raised in Fort Worth, and we did a lot of hunting and camping. We actually were camping in Arkansas somewhere, and my parents decided to go to a drive-in movie. And the movie running at the time was The Legend of Boggy Creek, and it ran for years in the theaters and drive-ins, so it's hard to say what year, but I was super young, and I just didn't know anything about the movie. And as soon as I saw the spooky opening and heard the howl of the monster, I was like, okay, I'm in. And I jumped in the front seat and I watched the whole movie. And, you know, my mother, I think, still regrets that to this day, because not only did my dad constantly jump out and going, Boggy Creek Monster, you know, that I grew up to be immersed in the whole subject,
Right.
Because I was so fascinated. And literally from then on, I've just had this fascination for the movie and, of course, the creature itself.
Back to what you said about your mom regretting it. We both love horror movies, and I grew up a big horror movie fan, and there's like a study that I read somewhere where if you were a fan of Scooby-Doo growing up, then you were more apt to like horror movies, so I blame my mom, and she gets mad at me when I said that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I was totally into Scooby-Doo, you know, and I always say that in my presentations. The reason I probably like swamps, you know, I've written books on swamps, and
We love Sinister Swamps. It's good.
That's where I go to do research. I'm always like, it's literally because every haunted house in Scooby-Doo was right next to the
It really
swamp.
was. That's a great point. That's a very great point. Even that opening scene.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
When it comes to recent sightings of the Fouke Monster, are there any that stand out to you in recent day?
I'm not making this up. Last evening, we were down in that, almost in the same area where she had the sighting back in 2006. And I've seen stuff around here on occasion, and things have occurred, but we were looking for a specific spot down there where people had informed me they found, for lack of a better term, a boneyard, where they had found skeletons of wild hogs and deer, which I thought was strange to be mixed in. So I wanted to go down there and look at this for myself. And it's a very hard trek to get to because it's in a low area, it's very flooded, it's very swampy, there's alligators, the whole deal. And we walked a long time. A good friend of mine who does research and my girlfriend was with us. And this was late afternoon, and they were about 15 yards behind me, and I hear walking, and there's a lot of leaves out there. I hear them walking, and I look up and I see a dark figure. I see the legs, I see the walking, at least 3 steps. It's very brushy, and you know, you don't have straight visibility because it was in the woods. This thing walked and then just kind of disappeared into a shadowy spot. And they were talking, so I was trying to get their attention to be quiet, because I'm like, look.
Yeah, you're on it.
Well, I made noise and I didn't hear any more walking, so I thought, well, the thing either stopped or just went silent. And you know, I thought for a second, is that a person? Which I can't say 100% it wasn't, but we're in a spot where there's no people, and I know this area better than my own neighborhood. There's just no people walking down there, and there wasn't anybody camped in these areas. There may be as the festival happens. So I saw it was a very uniformly dark figure. Most people don't wear black in the woods except for me.
Plus, I mean, if you're deep in the woods in a small town, you never know who's hunting or doing something like that. So you'd think if they would have heard y'all talking, they'd have been like, oh, hey, at least, and then pass. But since it didn't, I mean, that makes it even stranger.
They're only, I would say 35 to 40 yards. And
right.
you could definitely hear them talking. And I can't imagine a person not kind of stopping and waving, or you want to be noticed because you don't know if
you want to get shot at. Yeah, exactly.
So I saw that, and I went over there and I told them what I saw, and then I kind of moved quicker, and we went down in there, and it gets real shadowy. I was kind of on a game trail. It gets real shadowy. We looked everywhere. Nothing got up and ran. No more walking. No more nothing. And of course, I didn't see it again, and we couldn't find anything. And you can't see footprints because it's
all
just leaves that are almost just like wet, and you can't see a footprint. I can't say 100% what I saw, but I can tell you that
it wasn't a human.
Extremely unusual, and I saw it. I didn't see that from the neck up very well, but what I saw just fit the profile of what everybody else reports. And in retrospect, I thought I should have just ran right after it, and I would have, but it's very thick there. So it's quite possible that, ironically,
you had a sighting.
I had a sighting yesterday.
What keeps you coming back to the Fouke Monster after all this research, the multiple books? Is it the nostalgia of just the intro of the drive-in, or why does it hold a special place in your heart?
I think for me, it's multi-level as to why I still find such fascination and do spend so much time with it. And certainly it goes back to that time when I was a kid and I'm exposed to these stories. I just had that childhood wonder and excitement about seeing something like this. And growing up, I love the outdoors. I loved hunting, and I love camping, and I love the countryside here. It's beautiful. It's got all manner of wildlife and flora, fauna, and it's great to be in the outdoors. And even greater if you think, wow, there is that chance that I could see something that very few people have seen. In fact, my swamp boots, we just put them in the display case.
I was wondering the story behind those.
That just on the day after the sighting, I was wearing those. Those soles were coming off, and I've had those since like 2009, and there are a lot of miles on them. And I just asked Denny, I go, you want to put these in the case? I can't wear them anymore. So
why not?
Stuck them in there.
There you go.
We've dreamed of visiting Mr. Denny's Monster Mart for quite some time. But never in our wildest dreams did we think our first visit would include filming an eyewitness encounter from Lyle. We really enjoyed his company and would like to thank Lyle for his time and wish Mr. Denny and his wife a happy anniversary. As we ate lunch and browsed the Monster Mart souvenir selection for friends, ourselves, and a channel giveaway, the realization kicked in. Once we stepped out of those doors to set up camp, we might get our chance to see said creature of legend.
Right now, we've set up camp here in Alex Smith Park as we get ready to put feet on the ground in Fouke, Arkansas. As you plan your trip to come explore, there are a few things that you should know.
Firstly, in Fouke itself, there are no places to stay. However, about 18 miles from the Monster Mart, you can camp at Alex Smith Park, just along the Sulphur River, where many sightings have also occurred. There are 5 sites with full hookups that you can book from Miller County by calling 870-774-1301. If those are sold out during busier times, there is free primitive camping with Lakeview right past the paid sites.
If camping's not your style, or weather turns out not to be expected, there are many hotels to choose from in Texarkana, which is just outside of Fouke.
And when you're looking for food and places to eat, Fouke does have a few small restaurants in the Monster Mart, part Fouke Monster Museum, part convenience store that does sell food, but also, like she said, with the hotels, Texarkana have a few other options. So we finally have feet here on the ground in Fouke, And there are a couple places you can explore without having to worry about going on private property, because when you're visiting Fouke, remember this is a small town, there is a lot of private property. So unless you know some of those people or you have their permission to visit their property, you kind of want to stay in these public areas. So right here we're on County Road 9. This is actually the origination point of Boggy Creek. As you dive deeper in your research and you visit Fouke and you're reading Lyle Blackburn's case files and you're watching the film and you're Googling, you're going to realize that, you know, the more you research, the more places actually you're here in the public that you can kind of find without trespassing, which is really nice.
Yeah, a lot of roads near County Road 9, there have been sightings of the Fouke Monster crossing.
Like in front of cars as they're passing.
So you can just take a joyride and who knows?
You never know what can happen
Exactly.
here in Fouke.
And I think Lyle had said something about how there have been spottings day and night. So, I mean, we're almost close to dusk.
Yeah, we are getting pretty close to dusk. And
So who knows what's going to happen.
After a visit to Alex Smith Park, Sulphur River, Boggy Creek, and a few sites from the film, it was time to head to the Roux Ga Roux Cafe.
I knew I wanted it to resemble the feel of a New Orleans cafe.
Yeah.
And I definitely wanted the decor. All the decor in here has something to do with Louisiana. First you make a roux. Anything that has to do with Louisiana cooking,
Yeah.
first thing you do is you gotta make a roux.
And what consists of?
Flour and oil is...
That's just the base.
That's just your base. And you cook it to different degrees of a color brown,
Yeah.
depending on what you're making.
Okay.
A blonde roux is gonna be for like a white gravy.
So that would explain the play on words, the Roux Ga Roux. I'm just an idiot because I didn't know what a roux was. I was like, oh, that's a fun
I
spelling.
don't think I knew what it was either.
So that's awesome.
So it is a play on words. The
Yeah.
Roux Ga Roux is the monster folklore of Louisiana
Right.
and New Orleans, the swamp. But roux, the reason it's spelled that way is because this is a restaurant and
Yeah.
everything we make starts with a roux.
That's very cool. That's awesome. Then you're familiar with the Roux Ga Roux in Louisiana. Are you familiar with the Boggy Creek Monster?
Kind of. I know a little bit.
Who introduced like that idea to you? Like when you moved here, like did people say, oh, you gotta watch out for the Boggy
Yeah,
Creek
did you
Monster?
learn about Fouke quick, or was it?
No. So we had my class reunion 10 years ago, and I kind of heard stories about it.
Okay.
So I have one of my classmates that lives in Alaska. Well, she came and flew in, and she stayed with me. And then we were going to drive home down South Louisiana, and we were going to go to our class reunion. She says, I want to go see all the Fouke Monster stuff. I'm like,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I said, Fouke? I said, Fouke? Yeah. She goes, yeah, there's a monster around here. I said, oh, Fouke, the Fouke Monster. She goes, you knew what I meant. And I said, well, I know there's a store that has a big thing, monster sitting on the top of it. I said, but I've never been in it.
Yeah.
And she said, well, let's go. So we walk into Mr. Denny's store, and I'm like, wow, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And he's just got so many artifacts, and it's just a neat little store. So she went in there and she did the whole tourist thing and took pictures of everything and bought souvenirs and all that.
Now that you know the Fouke Monster, the Fouke Monster, and the Roux Ga Roux, what's your opinion on the strange and unknown as a whole? Like, do you think creatures like that exist, or?
Oh, I've always believed in stuff like that.
Okay.
Like, now does the Roux Ga Roux exist? I think that's just a folklore. I think, and nobody's actually seen the Roux Ga Roux. But New Orleans is full of ghosts and folklore. And do I believe in that? Very much so.
So you had said before we started filming, you've been open about 8 months now.
Yeah, we opened in the last part of August of last year.
Very cool.
Okay.
And were you just a food truck prior to that?
I was.
What made the jump from food truck to brick and mortar?
We had outgrown the food truck.
Oh, that's fine. That's awesome. That's a good problem to have.
Originally, what we were doing out of the food truck is we also do crawfish.
Okay.
And shrimp and crab legs, and we do Cajun tamales, which
That's awesome.
we did not do crawfish this year because of the drought.
Yeah.
It's very expensive right now. So and I'm trying to get the restaurant up and off its feet.
Inspiration for recipes you use in the restaurant.
Oh, it's all family.
Okay.
It's recipes I grew up with.
So when you say you outgrew the food truck, you mean you were ready to go beyond seafood to get into that Cajun level family recipes?
I had always dreamed about it as a child.
Yeah.
In fact, I can remember probably being in elementary school, and I used to dream about what I wanted my restaurant to look like, and I used to draw it. And back then, which is nothing what it looks like, but I wanted the outside of it to look like it was a shrimp boat, but it was just going to be like a
facade.
Like a facade.
Yeah.
And then you'd walk up this ramp and go in this restaurant, and when you go inside, and eventually this is what I really want to do.
I was to say, is this, it's
Eventually this is what I want to do. In the middle of the restaurant, I want there to be a bandstand and a dance floor, this Cajun band that will be playing music, and people will get in the dance floor and have dinner and go dance. And
That's awesome. When it comes to the menu, what do you want people to know?
when they attribute Cajun food, they think it's hot.
Yeah.
Spicy, and it's not. It's flavorful. It's it's full of flavor. As a little appetizer, we do poppin' skins, and they're served with jalapeno ranch dressing.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Cajun jalapeno ranch dressing. We make everything from scratch. I
Okay.
mean, everything is made to order. We don't fry a whole bunch of fish
Yeah.
and let it sit there.
That's so important.
So, when you come here to eat, it's not going to be fast food service.
Yeah.
It's, plan on, you're going to
sit down.
You're
Yeah.
going to sit down.
Are you full? We have like 8 crab cake.
Watch this.
And I ate most of the today.
I'm gonna get that face on camera like that.
I watched The Legend of Boggy Creek on the 4th of July last year. And so it took me a whole 32 years
A whole 32.
finally see The Legend of Boggy Creek. And never, when we watched it, I didn't think, oh, I'm going to be there someday. But here we are.
Here we are. I think I was like 6 or 7, and we were shopping at like some small town like Save a Lot type store, and I found a VHS, I think, for $5, and picked it up and watched it. And
So you just grabbed it? You didn't know anything about it?
no, I read the back because
Yeah.
I could read at that point. So I read the back and was like, oh,
But you had
this-
no point of reference?
No,
Oh,
I was
that's
like, this
funny.
is it. So I took it. My dad was there, and he's like, oh, I saw that a long time ago. So like, yeah, of course. And we watched it together. But it was,
That's cool.
I don't remember. I wish I knew how old I was, but it was
Young.
cool. But it was special watching that film here in Fouke, of all places.
Just
like,
knowing when we left that building, we were,
in the midst
yeah.
of it all.
I didn't
was-
say in
when
the
this
movie,
happened.
but
in
pretty
the
much.
in the movie.
Yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
so once he gets here, what are you gonna ask him?
Oh, we're doing this. We're gonna
So
balk around and find out.
Next time you pass through Arkansas, visit Angela and taste the flavor of New Orleans at the Roux Ga Roux Cafe. And when you're ready, detour just south to Strange to start your very own search for the Fouke Monster. Remember, the most recent sighting was yesterday.